While we were down at Christine Torrente's, at her house, we were having a great party down there. Some of you were there that evening. And they started talking, in fact, with Cheryl. And they said, you know, this would be great to have Paul come out. And sure enough, leave these ladies to their devices. And they had me up the opening night, 20,000 people in this huge stadium, and I'm in my dress uniform. And we gave that speech, and to share to not just those 20,000 people, to all the people who watched that video, about what we're facing here in Arizona. So I can't thank you enough. We have some of the greatest ladies here that are strong leaders for Arizona, and I just want to appreciate you for all you do. I can tell you that as I go around, not just in Arizona, but throughout the country, occasionally I take an overnight trip and I go to different counties. A lot of counties, for some reason, want to adopt me as their sheriff. But when I come to Pima County, it seems like every person that I talk to wants to have me as their sheriff.
Have you met Dubnik?
I have my hands full in Pinell County, but thank you for the invitation. And I just want to say it's been my honor to serve as sheriff. And I joke with Sheriff Joe and the other sheriffs about being the youngest sheriff, but we have a good relationship. We had a Sheriff Joe headlined an event for us actually up at Rawhide, so I got to wear my Western attire with a cowboy hat and everything. And he got up there and he said, he was of course making fun of me quite a bit. That's Sheriff Joe. And he says, "What are you running for, Paul?" He goes, "Well," and he tells the audience, whatever he's running for, I'm going to endorse him and I'm going to support him. And so to have that kind of support and to cross all kinds of boundaries, not just in our Republican Party, but among independent-minded voters that are just realistic about what our country faces here with an unsecured border, and even a lot of Democrats, surprising, who are tired of Democrat elected leaders apologizing for America literally to some of the enemies of our country, and to abandon our allies. And you look at the state of Israel and what President Obama did there. And what I've been trying to say, not just in doing our job in Pinell County, but to stand up for the rule of law. It should be a novel concept to stand up and say, we've got to enforce all of our laws. We can't pick and choose what laws we're going to enforce. And what about protecting America, putting our rights first? And we've been such a generous nation to so many countries around the world. And you already shared how I served. I was honored to serve over in Iraq. I've always supported those missions, still do. But my God, what are we doing? We've been there 8 years. We've been there approaching 10 years in Afghanistan. We started bombing Libya. We've been in Korea since my dad served in Korea. He's 80 years old. Since 1958. Today, as we're eating lunch here today, guess how many soldiers we have in Korea protecting their border? 28,600. We have 28,600 soldiers securing, defending their border. What about our border? Yeah. What about standing up for America and putting our priorities first? Well, I saw Secretary Napolitano the other day and told her as much. Julie here from Senator Kyle's office, and thank our senator. We love Senator John Kyle and Senator McCain, of course, as well. But Senator Kyle, we're going to miss him as our senator and give him our regards. Well, Julie was there at this meeting. We went down to Nogales. And this was the first time I've ever been invited to a meeting with Secretary Napolitano. Because you saw all these summits they're having on immigration reform and border security that they have in the White House. And who do they all invite to these meetings? Yeah. They invited Arnold Schwarzenegger. They invited Mayor Bloomberg of New York. I guess he's an expert on border security. And they invited Al Sharpton. What on earth do we have to do with border security and immigration reform? They just want to hear, like it's an echo chamber, everybody has the same opinion. and everybody's afraid to stand up. Well, we went to this meeting the other day down in Nogales, and Secretary Napolitano asked a question she probably shouldn't have asked. She says, "What is it you all need?" And my hand went up like that. And she's looking around, does anybody have anything? And she called upon the mayor of Nogales. She stood up, "I just want to say we have the safest city in Arizona." Didn't he say that? Contrary to what other people are saying. So, of course, all these high fives are going up, and she's got a lot of friends of hers that were there. And then, of course, Sheriff Estrada of Santa Cruz County, who's always said, you know, everything's just fine, no problems in Santa Cruz County, don't force Senate Bill 1070, all these things. And so my hand still goes up, Sheriff. And I said, Madam Secretary, you asked earlier what it is that we need. Well, I can tell you from my perspective, at least, on behalf of Arizona, one thing we don't need is alligators.
Beautiful.
She didn't laugh. She looked at me, and if she could have taken her shoe off and whipped it at me, trust me, she would have. And you know what she said? Because my staffer that was there tape recorded it. She said, "Yeah." Just like that. Like she was obviously upset with me. You know, just wanted to talk about this. So then we went along and talked about some of the things we're doing in the county. And then I talked about that her plan would fail without 6,000 armed soldiers at the border immediately. And I refreshed her memory that when she was the governor, I was one of the commanding officers at the border down in Yuma, and I lived there. And I had the great honor to command 400 to 600. At times it reached 1,000 active duty soldiers and airmen down in Yuma. And we brought a 96% reduction in illegal entries. So we know something about what it takes to secure the border. So I reminded her of that, and I referred to the 10-point border security plan of Senator McCain and Senator Kyle. And I actually waved over to, it was Becky was there from Senator McCain's office, and she interjected and she said, "Sheriff, that in Congress they're cutting, and that's all they're doing. We don't have any more. Congress talks a good game, but they have no more support or something like that for the border." That's what she said, and I wrote it down, and we've got it on tape. So Julie and Becky went back and told the senators that this is what the secretary's going around telling people, which is a bunch of lies. That's not the truth. We have our senators from Arizona who are standing up for Arizona, offering real solutions that will secure the border. And that's what she had to say. And I said, well, it costs $3.5 billion. And she said, no, it was $4.1 billion. So she corrected me. And so I continued on about some other issue. Well, she went on and talked about, well, I'm not just concerned about securing Arizona's border, but all 4 southwest border states. And I've got to be concerned with the ports of entry for Homeland Security and also the Canadian border. And those people on the Canadian border need some attention. And I said back to her, they don't have 1 million people rushing over the Canada border. And you know what she said to me? She said, well, they have other things. And that was basically the end of the discussion. So we got on Mike Broomhead later that day to tell him in the Phoenix audience what our former governor had to say about this. And she literally announced in this meeting that the border cannot be sealed. She said this publicly in this meeting. And she said it a couple times. She says there's been contraband coming throughout the history of time, and we're not going to stop it. And I reject that defeatist approach, saying that we can't secure the border. It's something that all of us, when we were out at the NRA, Judy and Sandy and Cheryl, you remember, I said, we're the nation that stopped Hitler's march across Europe, stared down the Soviets, and sent them in to the moon. We're Americans. We can secure the border. We've done it in certain areas. We have the resources and know-how. Why don't we stand up and put this as a priority? Because I believe it's the gravest national security threat to face America. And it's not just about the illegal immigration. And it's not because Mexico is somehow this evil empire. They're not our enemy. Mexico is America's second largest trading partner. Arizona's #1 trading partner. Why on earth don't we help Mexico? 40,000 people have been killed there. Right? Mayors, judges, police chiefs, journalists. Benny, if you were the mayor and somebody killed the mayor, who wants to be the mayor? Right? That's what's going on in the next country south of us. And if we don't do something soon, what's going to happen in 5 years from now? Where does Mexico? And we can look at it from an immigration standpoint. We can look at it from a national security threat. If 210,000 basic illegals can make it through and get apprehended, and another 2 times that, another 400,000 plus came through undetected. That's by the Border Patrol's estimate. So the majority of basic illegals make it through. What does this say about those with military training or those that could be members of a possible terrorist cell? Right? That's why I believe it's far greater than Iraq or Afghanistan. And this is why we have to have it on our radar screen for those reasons as well. And to help Mexico. What about charity starting at home? We bombed Libya, according to the president, because of humanitarian reasons. Didn't you give that when you saw him on TV? My God, what's going on in Mexico? People are being beheaded. All these things that are going on there, that violence is being brought here and is here in America. And we've got to stop it. So for me, not just as a voice of somebody to stand up and say, hey, I'm going to upset that apple cart. I'm going to go to these meetings and not just say, oh, you're the greatest thing, Madam Secretary. As everybody just wants to give her a big hug and welcome her back here to Arizona. No. Do your job. Do your job and protect America and make this a priority for our country. So, in a small way, I know for a fact that people all across our country stand with us here in Arizona because we're standing up for the rule of law. We're standing up to put America first. And to not get into all these other areas that our federal government has done. The free market, when we see insurance companies, the auto industry, healthcare, banking industry, all these areas that our federal government has gotten into. And then the core enumerated responsibility in our Constitution is for our federal government to protect America. And clearly, from, I can say as a retired Army officer's perspective, we're not fully doing that, and we need to. So, from my position as a sheriff, I'll continue to speak out. Some of you here have encouraged me to look at least a possible run for Congress next year as these district lines get drawn, and we'll absolutely look at that. But I love my job as sheriff, and I'm going to continue to work hard, not just for the people of Pinell County, but for all of us in our state. So, thank you so much for having me here today, and for this lunch is just wonderful. Thank you.